Ruth Kamande, a murder convict who was sentenced to death in 2015 for stabbing her boyfriend 25 times to death, graduated with a law degree from Kamiti Prison. Ruth Kamande first made headlines in 2015 not only for the details of the crime that she was accused of, but also for her appearance, which many felt was soft and beautiful. Her appearance was the talk of many to a point media stations named her the Beauty Queen Killer. But how did this innocent-looking soul turn into a murderer? Let's find out. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and give it a thumbs up. Not much of her childhood life is documented, but scanty details reveal that Ruth was raised in Dandora with a single mother. Her friends knew her as Biggie. At the age of 21, Ruth found herself in a situation where she struggled to make ends meet. She had two jobs. As an hairdresser, she did not make much. She was also a sales agent at one of the telecommunication company. Ruth found herself borrowing suits from friends to go to work. Ruth was obsessed with her looks, and for her humble beginning, it was difficult to buy many things she desired. The other obsession she had was Farid. Ruth was obsessed with Farid to a point she had to look for Farid's sister, introduce herself, and she said she wanted to, quote-unquote, have a girl's talk. According to Sarah Waidera, Farid's sister, Ruth showed up at her workplace, introduced herself as Farid's girlfriend. Sarah was surprised because she showed up alone, introduced herself as Farid's girlfriend, and started talking about her frustration with Farid. After a few months, Ruth called Sarah again and told her she has realized that her relationship with Farid was one-sided. She was planning to go to Lebanon to work there and hopefully forget about Farid. At this point, Ruth already booked a flight and was going to Lebanon to work as a house help. Sarah convinced her to stay, citing the many cases of abuse she's had from the Gulf countries. Ruth heeded with a promise to try and forget Farid and focus on the finding of a good job in Kenya. In between, Ruth would date different men but would call to ask about Farid from time to time. Farid's upbringing was rough. As a child, Farid witnessed a lot of domestic violence between his parents. Things even became worse when their mother died. Through it all, Farid excelled. He got admitted at Lenana High School before joining Nairobi University to study computer science. He was employed as a data analyst immediately after his graduation and quickly rose through ranks. At the time of his death, Farid was a supervisor. So in 2015, Ruth learned that Farid was planning to marry another woman. She ran to his house and ransacked it looking for evidence. She got a stock of letters that Farid's old flame, a girl he knew in high school, had written. According to Sarah, Farid had tried to explain to Ruth that they had just reconnected and the girl had moved to the US. He told her that they only talked on Facebook, but Ruth had none of this. She insisted that he needs to call the relationship off and he needed to break up with her. It was during this commotion that Ruth rushed to the kitchen, took a knife and started stabbing Farid. Farid tried to shout for help, but Ruth had locked themselves inside. Neighbors rushed and tried to help, but they could not access their bedroom. They watched from the other room, begging Ruth to stop, but she had none of it. She would often take breaks and go back to stabbing him. Ruth stabbed Farid 25 times with taking breaks in between. She stabbed him on the chest, his legs, his arms, his abdomen, his back, his shoulders, and everywhere. On Ruth's defense, she told the court that she found Farid in his house with evidence that he was HIV positive. this escalated into violence. Ruth alleged that she warned him that she was going to tell family and friends about his status. And this is when Farid ran to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and tried to stab her. But the knife fell on her chest. That was when she took the knife and turned it against him, and she, at this point, stabbed him. Ruth says she stabbed Farid for self-defense. According to the court, the fact that Ruth did not stab Farid only 1 or 2 times, she stabbed him 25 times, was enough evidence to show that she intended to cause pain, suffering, and death. The court considered Ruth as manipulative and controlling. They said that she was emotionless during the full term of the hearing. Ruth was sentenced to death.
This person deliberately stabbed the deceased with the clear intention to cause him pain, suffering, and death, and have taken into account that she stabbed the accused person 25 times. Now, in terms of sentence, the sentence for murder is the death penalty. It is true that pursuant to Murateto case, Supra, the courts now can exercise discretion when considering and passing sentence. It is important to say that in my view, that discretion to pass a sentence other than death in capital offenses should only be exercised in the deserving cases. I do not find this a deserving case. I think to pass any other sentence than the one prescribed would turn the accused person to a hero. I want young people to know that it is not cool to kill your boyfriend or girlfriend, even where you feel disappointed or frustrated. Don't do it. Instead, it is cool to walk away and thereafter to forgive. Now, after considering all these factors, I find that the only sentence to pass in this case is death. I'm therefore sentenced the accused person to death as prescribed by the law. She has a right to appeal against the conviction and sentence within 14 days.
However, the Amnesty International Kenya termed the ruling as cruel, inhumane, and outdated. They wanted the court to commute the sentence and rehabilitate Ruth. While Farid's name faded after his brutal murder and only would mention in courtrooms, Ruth Kamande's name made headlines again and again. In 2016, for example, Ruth Kamande won the prison beauty pageant while awaiting for her trial. In 2018 and 2020, Ruth Kamande appealed her cases but lost.
The Court of Appeal has upheld the death sentence of Ruth Kamande, who was found guilty of stabbing her boyfriend 22 times in September 2015 at Buruburu Estate in Nairobi County. High Court Judge Jesse Lesit sentenced Kamande to death in 2017, saying the court had proven beyond reasonable doubt that the accused committed the offense. Kamande, who became the 2016 Miss Langata Women Prison Beauty Queen, appealed the sentence, which has been overruled by the Court of Appeal. In 2016, President Uhuru Kenyatta turned all death sentences into life jail terms.
The judges argued that Ruth's heart was filled with malice, spite, unconsciousness, and hatred, which equally deserves a punishment by death. Ruth, however, says that although she found these letters, she had reconciled with her boyfriend. She also added that she has enough proof that it was self-defense because even herself, she had injuries. The judges, however, said Ruth self-injured herself to make the self-defense story be believable. The judges said it is also proof that she truly intended to kill Farid. While in jail, Ruth did not only join the beauty pageant, she also studied paralegal, which is in short, just a legal assistant. When the opportunity of studying a degree in law arose, she ran for it. And today, Ruth has graduated with a law degree from the University of London.
As much. My name is Ruth Kamande, and currently I'm serving a sentence in Langata Women's Prison. When I was convicted to serve that kind of enormous sentence, so for me, I felt like this was it. I really wanted to get a good lawyer who could help me with my case and everything, and somebody who could understand me at the same time. So Professor Githu Muigai came in. I was so touched, and I said, oh my God, in this world we still have people like this. So I desired to become like him. And when I heard that justice defenders are offering the opportunity, to instill dignity through education, so for me I was like, okay, I'll try. I know there's so much challenges based on the fact that I was serving in the death row, but I decided, let me just take the chance, because in future maybe I'd want to become that person to help somebody like Professor Githu Muigai helped me. So yeah, that was what motivated me. For me, seeing somebody leaving prison and coming back to say, Kamande, thank you so much, you've really been helpful to me, you did this and I'm grateful, it really gives me a purpose to live. It had reached a time I felt like I want to give up, like I couldn't take anymore, because there's a lot of stress, the books are so big, I have this kind of sentence, understand? The people who really helped me are the officers. Every time they'd call me, talk to me, and they'd enroll me into different programs like, counseling, just to make sure that they have helped me in balancing my emotions and my mental stability. So that really helped me, and yeah, I think that's why I decided to do what I did, and I'm glad I did so. I feel so good. At least I'll be able to graduate after all the hardship, after every effort that I had to put in place. It was so much. It's something that I'm very proud of. So this graduation means a lot to me, and I'm very, very happy.